p.m. Good evening, everyone. This is a CPOC Commissioners meeting. It's hereby called to order. The time is now 6:15. My name is Hassan Bennett. I am the interim chair of the Citizens Police Oversight Commission. I will be the one facilitating this meeting. This is a public meeting of the Citizens Police Oversight Commission that was properly advertised pursuant to the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act. I'll begin by calling roll. All commissioners, if you are here, just say here or I, or present. John Solomon.
Commissioner Solomon here, present.
Commissioner Melanie DuBose.
I apologize due to a technical error. I'm trying to unmute Commissioner DuBose, but she stated she is present.
Okay. Commissioner Hakeem P.A. Commissioner P.A. is an unexcused absence. Next, we will go into commissioner business. Has everyone had a chance to review the meeting minutes for last month?
Commissioner Solomon, yes.
Is Commissioner DuBose in the meeting yet? Attorney Twigg?
I apologize. I have a couple of phones going here. Can you repeat the question?
Is Commissioner DuBose currently on the meeting?
She is on the meeting.
I am in the meeting. I am in the meeting. It keeps going back and forth into mute and out of mute.
So currently, Commissioner DuBose is having audio issues. Is there any way we can fix this?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. It's a little disoriented.
Someone muted me from the top. Someone muted me from the top. If I can be unmuted, my background is quiet.
I believe she said she can be muted.
If I can be unmuted, I'm in a quiet background.
She is unmuted. We're good to go.
Is it my phone or is it my fault? Is it my computer or is it my line that she's sounding like this?
No.
Okay, so we are having audio difficulties with Commissioner DuBose. Catherine, my question to you is, can we approve any motions currently with the commissioners seated, with the commissioners currently in this meeting?
Yes. So the only motions you're considering tonight are the motion to approve tonight's agenda
Yes.
and the motion to approve last month's minutes, which has been corrected to be July minutes, everyone. The other items are discussion items. There's no need to take a particular motion or vote on those.
Okay, so with to have an adequate discussion, because Commissioner PA is not here, we would need the Commissioner Elders feedback. We cannot currently hear Commissioner Elders. Is there anything we can do about the audio of Commissioner Elder?
Can you hear me now?
You can hear her? We can hear her. I can hear her, but it's not clear.
Same.
So we'll try to move forward on this issue. we'll try to move forward with the meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting agenda for tonight?
Commissioner Solomon here. I'll motion to approve the meeting agenda.
Does anyone second that motion?
A second,
Commissioner Solomon motions to approve the meeting minutes. Commissioner, DeBoer second that motion. We have a motion on table. All in favor to approve the, meeting agenda tonight? All in favor of approving the meeting agenda tonight, please say aye.
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 aye,
Next is approval of the prior, meeting minutes from July. Do I have a motion to approve the, prior meeting minutes of July?
Commissioner Solomon here. I'll motion to approve the prior meetings minutes of July.
Do I have anyone to second that motion?
second,
We have a motion on the table and, Commissioner Elder has seconded the motion. All in favor of approving the meeting minutes of July 2024, say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Aye. I apologize to my commissioner. I know I got a little tangled up. At first I said approval of the July meeting minutes at first, but that was the meeting agenda for tonight. For clarity, we approved the meeting agenda for tonight, and the second motion, we approved the meeting minutes for July. Next is notice of executive session on July 26, 2024 at 6 p.m. for legal advice. Next is on the agenda is the discussion of the public meeting schedule. We've been holding a town hall and a meeting. Moving forward, we want to hold 2 commissioner-ran meetings to get commissioner in accordance with the legislation. We would like to hold 2 meetings a month. Is there any discussion of what is available to each, what date is available for each commissioner? Hello?
For what
Here, here.
particular,
So we're looking for 2 meetings a month, right? Please, I'm trying to find 2 dates that each commissioner will be available for those 2 meetings.
well, Thursdays is always flexible for me, but I can't confirm unless I look at my schedule what days are actually like available for me. But Thursdays are normally my most flexible days. So I would shoot for Thursday if that works for the other commissioners. Any Thursday.
Elder, Commissioner DeBoer.
Yes, is this will move our Tuesday meeting?
So we're going to begin conducting 2 meetings a month. Right now, I am trying to find 2 dates that each commissioner will be available throughout the month. So
So we
currently,
already have Tuesdays set aside.
so currently,
Additional 2 days,
so Tuesdays is how it was set up. The first Tuesday of the month. What is she saying?
Can't hear her.
So it was set up that we
so
would,
it's
it was originally set up that we would do the first Tuesday, and I think it was the 3rd Tuesday of each month. That was 2 years ago. I think that that schedule currently does not fit each commissioner. Commissioner Solomon has stated that he is flexible on Thursdays. So that leaves us with a Thursday for each month, 2 Thursdays for each month. The question is that would you be available to switch the meetings for Thursdays?
I am committed to this cause. Can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
So I am committed to this cause. And while I need my life to have some degree of stability, I will flex. I'm going to go to Thursdays. But I need to have 2 meetings per month, not 4 or 6.
Commissioner, I'm sorry. Executive Director Tanya McClary has her hand up. I'll take the Executive Director McClary's comment.
Good evening, commissioners. I would request that if you are going to change the meetings, that you potentially consider not having them the first week of the month. One of the suggestions I had mentioned to the chairman was that because we want to bring you complete data for stuff like complaints, for example, a lot of times we don't have enough time when you're doing them the first. So for example, August 31st was on Friday. This meeting was on Tuesday. It's not enough time for us to complete data for a month. So we would ask that if the commission does vote to move the meetings, that they either be the second, third, or fourth week of the month to allow the team that does data to be able to close out the month to be able to bring you all complete data information.
So that leaves us with the second Thursday of the month. Would that be suitable for our Executive Director to have the report to us so we can review the report and actually have discuss before the meetings?
I think that I'm looking at my data analyst. I think that would give enough time for her to be able to pull the data together, and also give my team enough time to get you all information more ahead of time to be able to review before the meetings.
All right.
Commissioner Bennett,
Yes.
I apologize for the interruption. As you know, there's been some challenges with Elder DeBose's audio quality. So I
Mhm.
wanted to let you know, and I have her on the phone in front of my computer now, the way that you have often done it to help with the audio issues. So she is still in the meeting. Just wanted to confirm that, and she'll let me know if she wants to unmute or be heard.
Can we get an audio test?
Commissioner DeBose, can you speak up?
Yes. Am I able to be heard?
Yes, you are. You are clear now.
Okay, we resolved the poor quality of the audio. Thank you for your patience, everyone. She is still present.
So my next question is, did Commissioner DeBose hear Executive Director Tanya's proposal on
Heard some of it. I didn't hear the conclusion of the matter.
Ms.
I
McClary?
did hear her say that the first Tuesday of the month or the first Thursday should be exempt, and maybe the second and fourth. I think that's what I understood her to say. But what was the final conclusion, please?
Ms. McClary, could you repeat your reasoning?
But also, Chairman, I see that Commissioner PA is also on the line, so it'd be good if I don't know if he heard it.
All right.
But what I was requesting is that the first week of the month, any day is really hard for the team, because one of the things that we like to do, especially in the area of complaints, is to be able to wrap out a whole month. And so I was given an example. So for example, August 31st was on Friday, Monday was the holiday, and today was the meeting. And it wouldn't have been enough time for my team to get all the data necessary to close out a month so we can give you accurate complaints. So I would just ask, if we can exempt any day the first week of the month and focus on the second, third, or fourth week for your meetings. so that we can bring you all complete data. We can close out each month and bring you accurate data for an entire month at your meetings.
Commissioner DeBose said understood. Commissioner DeBose, just let me know if you want to unmute, otherwise I remain muted.
So that's reasonable. It definitely gives the commission more time to review the documents and have feedback on the meeting. So I'm thinking because Commissioner Solomon is currently available on Thursdays, would any other commissioner have conflict on Thursdays, the second or the third Thursday of the month? Second, third, or fourth Thursday of the month. I apologize. No other commissioner will have conflict with that. So I'm thinking the second and fourth Thursday of the month. Is that reasonable for all the commissioners?
Who managed that?
Okay.
That works for me.
All right, so there we have it. As it stands, we'll do the second and fourth Thursday of the month. I'm putting it in my calendar now. And we can move to the next on the agenda is the new bylaws.
Commissioner
Mr.
Bennett,
Chairman, I just want to clarify, would you like that to start in the month of October?
So because we're already having a meeting now, I think we can have the second meeting on the 26th.
So we'll start this month.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
All right. Any further questions on the scheduling of the public meetings?
Commissioner DeBose asked if we established a time. Are we sticking with 6 p.m.?
Does 6 p.m. work for everyone? Thank you, Commissioner DeBose. Does 6 p.m. not work for any of the commissioners? Did we have it? The second Thursday at 6 p.m. and the last Thursday at 6 p.m. All right. Moving on in the agenda, the bylaws. Has everyone had a chance to read the 2-page bylaw proposals for authority and purpose, meetings, and compliance with applicable law? Okay, I'll do it like this. Commissioner Solomon, have you had a chance to review the proposed bylaws, the beginning of the proposed bylaws?
Yeah, I had the chance to read it.
Okay, Commissioner, Attorney Twig, can you unmute so I can?
We're unmuted.
Commissioner DeBose, have you had a chance to review the
I have not read the updated version of the bylaws.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner PA, good evening. Have you had a chance to review the current bylaws, the updated bylaws?
Good evening. And yes, I have read the updated information.
Does any other commissioner have a comment on the current bylaws? Well, I have a comment on the current bylaws. As these are the bylaws that will govern the Board of Commission moving forward. For transparency purposes, I wrote several articles of the bylaws after speaking with commissioners and seeing what they would like in the bylaws. And I know this is just the beginning of the bylaws, but in presenting these bylaws, I wanted to see advice on what we should keep, what we shouldn't keep in drafting the bylaws. So with that being said, I appreciate the beginning, but if we could have those bylaws circulated amongst the commissioners with notes of advice on what should we do with just notes from Catherine and as well as Executive Director Tanya McClary on what they like in those articles, what they don't like in those articles, so we can move forward as a commission and draft these bylaws. What I want to see is the vision is not that those bylaws stand on their own, but we go through each article as in meetings, in public meetings, and have discussion regarding the bylaws and receive feedback on certain articles as we move forward. Does anyone have comment on what I just said? Okay, so with that being said,
I'm sorry, Commissioner DeBose would like to be heard.
okay.
I'm seeking understanding. So just as a point of clarity, it has already been established that I have not had an opportunity to review the amended recommendations.
Can you pause? Commissioner Bennett, can you hear her well?
I can hear her. It's static.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the problem is, if it's my phone or hers, but she said that she's seeking clarity. And just to confirm, she has not reviewed the current version that was circulated.
And I want to understand Chair's point.
So she's trying to understand the chair's point.
Are you saying that that version does not speak to the direction we should be taking? So, our bylaws articulated.
I think she said, are you saying that that version that was circulated does not align with the direction the commission should be going? Is that fair, Commissioner DeBose? Yes.
I'm saying the drafting, the process that it was drafted, does not align with what I envisioned the commission to do when drafting bylaws. It wasn't how we did the previous bylaws. So I wanted to share with the proposal that I put forth and have the commission add to it or add proposals to it as we move forward. So, and drafting these bylaws, I wanted commissioner feedback, input on the bylaws moving forward. And I think if we put share the bylaws amongst the commissioners from week to week, from meeting to meeting, that'll give the commissions time to review the bylaws, decide what they would like to add to the bylaws, present their own proposal of different articles. So by the time we come to the next meeting, we can discuss that and have the transparency of the process of drafting the bylaws to the community, as well as be on the same page in the drafting of the bylaws. I have no issue with what was presented in word, right? And what was written in the bylaws. I just have an issue with the process that the bylaws were written.
Commissioner Solomon here. I'm not sure if anybody had any feedback, but I agree with everything that interim chair said as far as the commissioners being more involved in the process of drafting up the bylaws, because we do have experience with, drafting up the bylaws in the past. And I think it's very important for everybody to give their different feedback and input on that particular process as we, draft the bylaws up. So just wanted to add that, to the conversation.
And thank you, Commissioner Solomon. And let's be mindful, we have just spent over 2 years now as commissioners, right? We have spent 2 years working as commissioners, seeing what does work, what doesn't work. We have spent 2 years going through training. We've just spent time, we have experience as commissioners now that we didn't have when the previous bylaws was written. So with that being said, I think all the commissioners should be able to provide feedback as well as their own proposals to different articles and saying what will work and what hasn't worked as a commission. Also defining, setting out expectations, what we expect from each other as well as future commissioners. So I appreciate the drafting of the presented bylaws as they are, but I just feel the process of drafting a bylaw should be the commission. The commissioners, the board of commissioners should be involved in drafting these processes, especially when it comes to the experience, what we have experienced as commissioners.
Commissioner DeBose was asking if she can be heard.
Yeah, I can hear her.
So we have had a number of discussions about getting together to do discussions and visions as the commissioners. And I don't know when this revision was drafted or not, but every time we talk about getting together as commissioners, we're met with issues around, first around scheduling, and secondly, around the limitations or the red flags of the Sunshine Act. Now, I need to know which is it, because too much time is wasted with our being presented roadblocks and barriers to try to accomplish our objectives. And most of the roadblocks and barriers are under the guise of the Sunshine Act. You cannot tell me that every conversation that is had in city council or other government-led agencies are public. Some things have to be discussed and then brought to the public. And with the difficulty with scheduling, and I conceived the fact that we are a volunteer component, but all of us have not shown the same level of commitment. We talked for the last 2 years about the necessity of making some sacrifices in the beginning until such time that we're on one accord and we're moving with some degree of continuity. So with all of that being missing, every time we change, I adjust. Every time a recommendation is made, I try to acquiesce to it. I do apologize for the technical limitations, but I do not apologize for the fact that I'm present and trying to work this out. But we are continuing to be faced with obstacles. And however that draft was done, we have to find a way to sit together and find this out. We did it before. It can be done on the phone, but it will probably be easier executed in a face-to-face meeting. So whatever we have to do, this is a small committee. And the Sunshine Act is a small committee to meet. But again, when we're trying to do something from the commissioners end, obstacles that we've done are being placed. And frankly speaking, it's stalling our process for the last 18 to 24 months.
So with that being said, I'm going to I'm going to allow Attorney Catherine Twigg to answer that question, as it falls in relation to the Sunshine Act.
Yeah. So in relation to the Sunshine Act, the commission, like any other board or commission in the state of Pennsylvania, must conduct deliberations in public. There are certainly a number of ways you can divide up the work so that, for example, different commissioners draft different sections for the first time, and then, independently, and then you send them around, or we can have a public meeting where everybody joins together and we spend the time working through the provisions of the bylaws. I sort of anticipated that would be what the kind of thing we might do tonight, to deliberate on a couple of articles that had been proposed. But I'm very happy to go back to a prior draft, Chair Bennett, if that's how you would like to go. I think we can certainly find a manageable chunk. It takes more time to work through something in a public setting, but I don't think that there's a lot of disagreement on this commission about, hearing good ideas and adjusting the bylaws to make sure that they are comprehensive, they reference the right laws, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Does that address the concern?
Yes. Elder? And I'm sorry I'm sorry. Let me make it clear, because I know I keep calling Commissioner DeBose Elder, and that's because I built a relationship with her over time. So I want to apologize to the commission. Commissioner DeBose, does that answer your questions?
Until we establish a timeline and a timetable and a set of objectives to get this accomplished, we will still be now talking about really the bylaws and getting the people to know. I need to know how we're going to do it, when we're going to do it, and who our commissioners are we going to make the sacrifice of time to get this done. Because if not, we're going to be in the same position and not push a role. We would have to onboard new commissioners and get them acclimated, and that would be a brand new strong obstacle for the cluster.
Uh, Attorney Twig, can you share with us what Commissioner Du Bois said?
In short, Commissioner DeBose, I will do my best to recount what you said. I think it was essentially that she's not sure what the process is going forward. There would need to be a timetable and objectives and a commitment of time from the commissioners. Because she doesn't want to be here a couple of years in the future and still not having resolved this issue. Was there anything additional, Commissioner?
So what I would like to see going forward is the proposal to be shared amongst the commissioners. Comments from our Attorney Twig as well as Executive Director McCleary, as what they think of the proposal. And we can share the proposal as early as the night and just get comments as we move on, because in the public meeting, we're going article by article by article. So if we want to take these I would like to see the proposal presented, circulated amongst the commission, and as well as comments as we go on each bylaw, so we could talk as a commission in public meeting, as well as I don't know if this is if this is legal. If I call Commissioner DeBose, or I sit down with Commissioner DeBose outside of the public meeting and draft with her ideas of within the bylaws and present it by email, is that allowed?
Yes, individual commissioners can one-on-one have conversations about any of this. The only thing that's prohibited by the Sunshine Act is non-public deliberations. So the group
Okay.
has to do publicly any deliberations, any votes on what you're actually passing into bylaws.
So with that being said, me and you can always set out a time, as the commission knows. I spent quite a bit of time working on the proposal, so much that my fellow commissioners told me, hey, give it a break. You're getting a headache, give it a break. But so I have no problem meeting with any of the commissioners. And I encourage commissioners to meet amongst themselves one-on-one to discuss the bylaws, if that's what you whatever moving forward, and just present proposals in via email or via conversation to your fellow commissioners. So when we come to the public meeting, during the next public meeting, we can finish this article by article.
Commissioner Bennett, I'd be happy to say that from my side, and I imagine ED McCleary is happy to agree. We can provide comments on the initial draft that was circulated and send that out to the commissioners so that you can all have this ongoing discussion.
All right, thank you. Is there any other comments on the bylaws? With that said, I will now turn over to Executive Director Tanya McCleary for the CPOC agency report.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, commissioners. I'm going to bring to you the office report. And so I wanted to remind the community that the Citizens Police Oversight Commission's mission is to oversee and investigate the conduct, policies, and practices of the Philadelphia Police Department. CPOC currently receives complaints of police misconduct, audits and monitors internal affairs investigations and police disciplinary procedures. If we can go to that first slide, that would be great. Sits and votes on PBI panels at police discipline hearings, conducts oversight of police shootings, analyzes police data, develops policy recommendations and reports, and engages in outreach and training. Next slide, please. So I wanted to update the community on the seating of new commissioners. I just want to recap some of the information that we let the community know last month at the August meeting is that there are 4 to 5 vacant seats. The reason why the number is not clear, I think the community is aware that we have a commissioner that is suspended right now. And so until that process is concluded, we will not know if we have 4 or 5 vacant seats. So I wanted to clarify for the public why that is. We are going to be working over the next several months. The hope is to hopefully present a slate, City Council to present a slate to the community for public hearing sometime in October or November. And so the call for applicants went out on October 2nd, and the applications were originally due August 23rd. On the 23rd, we still felt like there was room for people to get their application in, and we wanted to give people, a lot of working people, the long holiday weekend, and so we extended the deadline to today. So any of you that are watching right now, tell your friends, tell your family, they have until 12:01, till midnight, to get their application in, but the deadline was extended to today to give more community members a time to apply to sit on the commission. The application is available online. There's also, you can print it out, get a paper copy to us. So once again, please spread the last minute word. And we were able, when we first came to you in August, the application was in English and Spanish. As you can see, we managed to get it printed also in Mandarin, Haitian Creole, and Portuguese. Next slide. There's a selection panel. So CPOC is really just playing an administrative role. The actual commissioners will be appointed by a selection panel. So they will actually put forward a slate that City Council will vote on. And the members are Anton Moore, Stanley Crawford. And so how it works is that the mayor's office appoints 2 people and City Council appoints 3 people. So Anton Moore and Stanley Crawford were appointed by the mayor's office, and then Bilal Kayun, Christina Vega, and Caroline Slack were appointed by council. And so those are the people that will actually be reviewing all the applications and making recommendations to council about commissioners for this upcoming term. And so just wanted to let people know that. And as I referenced earlier, in terms of the reason why we have the 4 or 5 seats, I also wanted to take the time to give the community an update on the suspension of our commissioner and our Commissioner Rosaria Thomas. And so on July 2nd, 2024, the CPOC board voted to suspend Rosaria Torres Thomas based on reasonable grounds to believe that there was cause for her removal. During the suspension, CPOC has been conducting an internal investigation, which is now completed. So I wanted to let the community know that the investigation has now been completed, and therefore the CPOC board will hold a public hearing to consider the removal of Commissioner Thomas on September 19th at 7 p.m. So you can pencil that in, September 19th at 7 p.m. And at the hearing, we will share the results of the investigation, and Commissioner Thomas will have an opportunity to be heard. We will also be sending out a Zoom link and more information shortly. So I want to give the community an update on that. Also, because of the vote that was placed earlier today to have the commission meetings happen twice a month instead of once a month, I will come back to the commissioners and let you know how that'll probably change the presentations that come from the office. I will probably divide it up so that certain teams are coming to you at certain times. But I also want to just let you know that there'll probably be some changes into the presentation of this report because of that vote. And also I want to encourage the commissioners that normally the second meeting has been a town hall or some community event. And so I just want to encourage the commissioners that even though you now have 2 meetings, those meetings are still important. And so we're hoping to still see you at the whatever the event is that month. That's the community event. It's so important. I think it's really important that commissioners still come out to our community events, our town halls. So we will have more to come on that. And so let me stop there. That's my conclusion of my portion. Before I turn it over to a colleague, let me find out if any of the commissioners have any questions about anything that I have reported on as the executive director.
I have a comment.
Yes.
Will the commission, the Board of Commissions be able to speak with the selection panel at any point?
I can check in with that chairman and find out if that's possible.
Nothing further from me.
Commissioner Solomon here. Yeah, I would like to get some kind of information on that as well. I think that I'm not sure who's in head of that process, but I do think it's important to get feedback from commissioners on that selection process and just some of the things that we've experienced as being commissioners. I certainly haven't had heard anything from anybody relating to that process. So I think it'll be helpful.
Any other commissioners have a comment? With that being said, the floor is yours.
All righty, so I will reach out to the selection panel. I don't think they've selected a chair yet, and I don't know if that's what they'll do, but I will reach out to them, chairman, and let them know the desire of the current commission to be able to speak with them. And with that, I am going to turn it over to my colleague who's going to talk about the complaints. And I will say a few comments as well about, so if we can go to the next slide. So one of the things is that you will see that I have requested that the complaints be put into a different format. And so what you'll see here at the top of the screen is the new format. And so I'm really excited about that because what we will be doing is every month you will get a breakdown of every complaint. So you will get a summary of every. In the last few meetings, we've actually kind of just highlighted, lifted up a few, but the commission as well as the public will now get a summary of all the complaints that come into the office. And so right here on the slide, you will see that there's a website where this document will be found. And you can go and look at every complaint that is coming to the office in a given month and just getting the summary of them. And as we want to remind the community that these are just allegations, et cetera, but we are bringing to you what the complainant stated their concerns were when they had an interaction with PPD. And so if we can go to the next slide, I'm going to ask if my colleague can take over and just, we did lift up a few, but as I said, when you go to that link, commissioners, and you'll also get this as commissioners, you will be able to see all of the complaints that have come in a summary. But I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague to give us a summary and to also give us more information about the complaint data.
Hi everyone. My name is Allison Tatey. I'm a policy analyst at CPOC, and I also am the data analyst at CPOC. So I'll be filling in this month and presenting on our complaint data. I'll start with the summaries of our most recent complaints. The first complainant claims that he was riding his bike in the bike lane on Washington Avenue between 10th and 11th Streets. He was approached by the officer, and he was told that he'd be receiving a citation for riding in the wrong direction in the bike lane. The complainant claims that he was yelled at aggressively by the officer, who then stepped on his foot and grabbed him, pulling him so hard that his bicep was torn as a result. The complainant attests his former partner came to his house, which violated a protection from abuse order, and took his child, who he had custody of. The complainant alleges the detective did not investigate or take his case seriously. Instead, the detective dismissed the case as a custody matter. And finally, a complainant has been harassed and stalked by a man. She has been relocated to another address for the fear of her family's safety. The complainant called 911 and 2 officers and a supervisor from the 26th district responded. The complainant recalls the supervisor saying there was nothing they could do as the police are reactive, not proactive. The complainant went to the 15th district to follow up on her police report. The officer she spoke with told her that the report was incorrectly filed and did not include important details about the harassments and threats she was experiencing. Now we will take a moment to talk about one of the core aspects of our work, the complaint data. These are demographics as reported by complainants themselves. In the month of August 2024, CPOC referred 14 complaints to PPD's Internal Affairs Division, IAD. CPOC has referred a total of 118 complaints so far in 2024. These charts show the demographic data from 2024 complainants as reported by the complainants themselves. As you can see in the race distribution, there has been reports from Black and African American complainants, white, Asian, American Indian, and Alaska Natives. Some people have chosen not to specify. Some races hadn't been listed, and others prefer not to answer. As well in the gender distribution, we also have a variety of different demographics presented in our analysis: male, female, trans male, people who prefer not to answer, and other genders that haven't been listed here. And when a complaint lists not specified, that means that it hadn't been included in a complaint. Just for clarity. I'm ready to go to the next slide. So this is charts that just represents the distribution of demographics for August for the 14 complaints we've received. As you can see, there's less disparity in the type of genders that we've received complaints from, but we still have a wide variety of different race distributions. Now we have a tree map of the type of allegations. Most allegations reported by complainants in 2024 to date are lack of service or departmental violations. Also, we'd like to remind you that a single complaint can have multiple misconduct allegations. You can see here that more than a quarter of these allegations are departmental violations, which are explained further on the next slide. As you can see in this tree map, 25% of allegations referred to ID were departmental, or they weren't departmental violations, they were directive violations. This data shows the breakdown of each subcategory within the departmental violation allegation type. Again, a single complaint can have multiple misconduct allegations. Thank you. And right here is a heat map that shows the breakdown of where complaint incidents have happened in 2024 so far, as reported by the complainants. The darker the shade of red, the more complaints. And the lighter shades are where we've only received 1 to 2. And the scale goes from 1 to 11 this month, or this month for the year to date.
So we can go back to that last slide. And we want to see if the commissioners have any questions about the complaint data that has been brought forward this month. Any questions about the complaint data? All right. Chairman, you're muted.
My apologies. I have a I don't have any questions, but I have a comment. The new format, I love the new format of explaining each complaint for the month. Am I right? It's each complaint for the month, right?
Yes.
So I love the new format. it goes into our mission of being transparent with the community. I want to cry out of joy right now, but thank you. Thank you for, I don't know whose idea that was, but I really appreciate it. A summary of each complaint. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Or Commissioner Bennett.
PA has his hand up.
Do you guys hear me well? I'm sorry, I don't have good service.
Yes, we can hear you.
The complaint map, is that on the website as well?
The complaint map will be on the website when we upload the slide deck.
Okay, is it possible we can add, just so it's a little bit more clear, the zip codes for each zone? I know it's color coordinated, but is that possible?
So the colors don't correspond to like geographic locations of zip codes in that way, if that makes sense. The color coding has to do with how many complaints we've got in each specific zip code. Are you asking if we could put another map next to it that outlines the zip codes within the designated boundaries?
Well, no, so you're saying the colors represent how many incidents happen in that specific area, right? That
Yes,
specific area on the map, is it broken up by zip code? Like where we
yes.
see the borders of each? Yeah, no, if we could just add the zip codes to the map, if that makes sense. Or
So-
maybe I'm not asking it the right way.
Oh, no, I understand what you're saying. So sometimes when you transpose the numerical zip codes onto the map, because some of the districts are smaller and there's overlap, a lot of them either aren't clear or you can't see what they are. Something we can discuss doing is putting a map next to it that doesn't have the shaded areas, but can show the zip codes and their placements a little easier.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, because that's what I was thinking as I was looking at it to help me kind of correlate it better. So if we could do that, I think that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have an add-on to that. Is it possible we can put them like a chart on here numerically and with the zip code beside it, or alphabetically with the zip code beside it? Something of that nature?
Could you explain it a little more for me?
Okay, so I'll take my zip code 19151, the Overbrook section. Just put a 1, and then in the chart it'll say 1 or A 1 hyphen 19151.
That's something that we can discuss including. The reason that we don't do that right now is because we get complaints in so many different districts, and Philadelphia is a fairly large city, so that list would be quite long. So
No,
I
know what you mean.
I think the chairman is saying he wants to see like where some of the most, so it's number 1. What's the number 1? Like if we got 118 to 50 come from 19152 or whatever, like trying to list.
that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm sorry. I'm sorry to cut you off. I apologize. I'll wait till you finish. But
no, I thought you were asking for a ranking of them, like in terms of, but go
So,
ahead, Chairman, I misunderstood you.
When I look at this map, right, I see the shading is clear. You have 1 to 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 11, right? But when I look at it, I don't know what zip code each complaints come from, right? I know that the center has 9 to 11 complaints in it, but I don't know what zip code the center is in. My question is, can we add a chart in this document, in this page, complaint data map? Can we add a chart of, okay, that it states, okay, like say you put A on my zip code on 19151. In the chart, it would say A 19151 or B, whatever other 19131, 19146, whatever. So when we see this and we look at it and see the shade, and we can go right to the chart and know exactly where the zip code that is taking place. And that goes for the zip codes that don't have anything as well, right? If I look to a zip code that the far northeast, I'm assuming it would be, and I see nothing there, could we have a chart that connected and say, hey, this is the far northeast, this is this zip code. We don't have to, with the complaint chart, the CAPS chart shows how many complaints are in each zip code. I'm just saying we don't know the zip code, and could we have it on the same page?
Well, I think that's why. So, Allison, are you saying that it's too many zip codes for it to be organized on the chart, right? That's why we said use another map to mirror it, and that's how we'll be able to tell specific zip codes.
So in the zip codes that have a larger boundary, the text is going to be very clear, but when you get into the smaller districts, for instance, if you look at the middle, right around 19102 and 19103, there's a very small slither right here. If there's a number there, it's just going to cover most, that they're going to run it on top of each other and cover them. That's why I said, instead of transposing all of them, I would prefer to put a map next to it that outlines it a little better and more clearly than what I could do in the geographic mapping system that we use to visualize this.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, I mean, from my perspective, I think the map is good. I think it just causes confusion with specific parts, right? So if we could figure out, I mean, it seems like the dialogue is working a little bit as far as understanding where we're coming from, as far as making sure it's specific. But if we can find different solutions to that, so that when individuals do look at the map, they're not confused on where the majority of the issues or the situations are happening from.
Right, so I understand, and I think there is a way to accommodate that with some different labeling techniques, whether it's another map that mirrors it, or we try to transpose the ones that fit as accurately as possible, and then maybe put some arrows that point to the smaller districts. But just for clarity, as of right now, the zip code with the darkest red right in the middle, that's 19121. The next highest is 19132. 19121 has 10 complaints in that area. 19132 has 7. 19130 has 6. 19134 has 5. So for instance, those are the top 5 areas with the most complaints. And you can see by the color chart, they're mostly here in this middle area.
I have a follow-up now, but not about the zip. Well, yeah, kind of fits in the zip code. What zip code does Kensington and Allegheny fall in?
So zip codes don't have such clear boundaries. There's multiple zip codes that go into those neighborhoods. I don't know right off the top of my head. I'd have to physically look at the map. I know that 19124 and 19125 are in that area.
And what are their numbers?
Commissioner Bennett, Chair, it's 19134 is one of the zip codes.
19134 as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so 19134 has 5. 191, sorry, I have a long list here. 19124 is 4, and 19124. And I can't see 19125 right at this second.
All right, thank you.
No problem. I hope that was helpful. Sorry.
All right.
So we can work next month and see if we can come up with something. See what you all think about it.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the complaint section? All right. Well, she's wearing double duty hats tonight, so if you want to go ahead and bring us our policy report.
Thank you, Tanya. So firstly, we are making continued progress on all ongoing policy projects and advancing our key initiatives in a way that ensures that the needs of our communities are always at the forefront. Currently, we've been working on expanding community engagement and strategic partnerships. I accompanied Talia and the Mandela Washington Fellow Sherelle to the Mandela Washington Fellowship Luncheon on 8/29. This event highlighted a decade of leadership and development and collaboration through the Young African Leaders Initiative. After which I had the opportunity to host Sherelle at Eastern State Penitentiary Historic Site, where we were able to have some meaningful discussions on justice and reform. And it was a very fun trip to a museum, and I had worked there for many years before my time at CPOC, so it was nice to come in and see the advancements they've made as well in their mission. I'm ready for the next slide. Thank you. We've also been working on expanding community engagement and continued strategic partnerships. We'll be participating in the 2024 Immigrant and Refugee Fair on 9/25, organized by I Belong Philly in partnership with the Nationality Service Center, the City of Philadelphia's Department of Labor, and many more organizations. This forges essential connections for the Language Access Project that we are currently working on, and it aims to enhance language access and inclusivity in public services. Also, attending the Philadelphia Committee on City Policies Luncheon on 9/20, where we'll be able to welcome PA Rep. Jordan Harris for an insightful discussion on community engagement and policy development. We've also been working on collaborative research for better outcomes. The policy team has been working alongside the outreach team to better understand current relationships between PPD and various human services entities. This research group is specifically looking to understand the current needs of groups most impacted by changes in recent PPD enforcement protocols and efforts to improve their relationships with law enforcement. The next slide, please. Thank you. Finally, the policy unit has developed a series of explainers to educate the public and raise awareness on key issues. These explainers often provide an overview of the topic. Explainers address problems and provide resources to assist with community concerns and challenges. Blog posts and infographics are often created and presented alongside these explainers to highlight key information and are used as visual elements. We have several explainer updates that will be published soon. This is a slide showing the explainers that we are working on. First is the self-help evictions explainer, a document which explains self-help evictions and provides an overview of the Philadelphia Police Department's Directive 3.17. Next, we have the Protection from Abuse explainer, a policy and practice explainer regarding PFAs and highlighting things to know pertaining to the restraining orders. We have a domestic abuse explainer, a document which discusses domestic and intimate partner violence, and describes the Philadelphia Police Department's response to domestic incidents. This document also provides resources for residents who are victims or survivors of abuse. Finally, we have the Vehicular Accidents Explainer, a document which informs citizens on what to expect when crashes are reported to PPD, including responsibilities of law enforcement. An overview is provided regarding PPD Directive 9.6. Are there any questions about any of the policy unit updates?
Can we revisit the explainers after the commission has had a chance to review the explainers?
Yes, they're still in the process of being approved and they haven't been published yet.
Okay.
Yes, we can definitely review them.
All right.
Any more comments or questions about anything in the policy unit right now from any of the commissioners?
No.
Well, thank you, Ms. Tati, who did a phenomenal job. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're going to turn it over now to auditing and monitoring.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Janine Zajac. I'm the Director of the Auditing and Monitoring Unit. So the auditing unit is continuing to conduct regular audits of complaints against police. These are our systematic reviews of investigations into complaints that residents make against Philadelphia police officers. We review the PC memos, which are the reports of investigation, and we also review the full case file materials for each case that comes to us, assuming that we have time and capacity to do this. So we did our report, our auditing report and town hall back in July, and that was great. So if you haven't seen that, please check it out. There's lots of information about how these investigations are done by internal affairs. And that video is available on our YouTube channel. You can go to the next slide, please. So we have this update to our auditing process. I presented on this last month, but since it's such a new thing and exciting update to our work, I wanted to include it again here. So we are reviewing the full case files for investigations that are done into complaints against police, and we're doing our reviews before these investigations are fully signed off by the police department leadership. So that means we can have an opportunity to see how the investigation went, assess the quality and the thoroughness of the investigation, and provide feedback and recommendations for improvements that can be made to the investigation. So this is a workflow process that is still being developed. We're just sort of learning as we go with this. And we've been able to do a good number of these reviews, and I'll present some information on those in the slides to follow. But I just want to stress how exciting it is that we are able to do this work. The police oversight agency in Philly has never been able to do this type of work and these type of reviews in such a systemic way. So we're hoping that this can be really impactful and cooperative with the police department as they are sharing materials with us, and we're developing a great back and forth with how we're getting this access. So next slide, please. So we began receiving these files for review July 2nd. Our team has 10 business days to complete our review of a case file and notify PPD if we will be providing feedback on that case. Some specific recommendations are made depending on what we find during our reviews. An example of a type of recommendation that we would make is that the investigator should interview all officers present during the incident or explain why officers were not interviewed. So if we see that there's officers present on body-worn camera footage that maybe were not interviewed during the investigation, we would want to know why that wasn't done, or that officers should be interviewed if needed. So review all those case file materials, body-worn camera footage, like we mentioned, if there is any for the case, any interview memos, all documents. It's very time consuming, but we're able to get a lot of insight into how these cases are going. So since the last commissioners meeting, our team completed 36 reviews and memos. So that was between 8/6 and 8/27. So this was a lot of work that the auditing and monitoring team has done. They've been doing an incredible job with this work. And this has been the main focus of our unit as we've been developing this and trying to figure out how to move this forward. Next slide, please. So of those 36 file reviews that we did since the last meeting, 5 out of those 36 were not completed within 90 days. That's a statistic that we'd like to present to everyone so we can see the timeline of these investigations, how they're going. Of those 5 that were not completed in that time frame, we found the explanations for the delay to be reasonable. So that was good to see. And this aligns with the 80%, give or take, 90-day compliance rate that PPD reports. So it's good to see that our stats are lining up with their stats. Next slide, please. Something we always look out for is whether the investigator made all required attempts to contact the civilian complainant or any witnesses that may have seen what happened. So the required contact attempts are listed out here on the slide: email, phone call, mail as well. So we found that in over 50% of those cases, they did make all the required contact attempts, but in 42% of the cases, they did not. And sometimes it's just because the investigator didn't include in the memo that they sent an email to the complainant. But we don't know if that's the case unless it's written out in the memo. So we always will highlight if they're making the contact attempts they're supposed to make. So next slide, please. So of these 36 cases, we found that over 70% that the allegation findings on the conclusions page were logical and reasonable based on the analysis and the evidence present in the case. So that is a statistic we want to see as high as possible. We want the investigations to be coming to really sound conclusions, and we want to see the investigator walking through all of the evidence and coming to a really good finding. So I'm in the situations where we are finding that they are not logical and reasonable, we'll make a recommendation saying that more explanation is needed, more analysis, more evidence needs to be presented, or something of that nature. Next slide, please. Okay, so something we pay really close attention to is whether all of the allegations are being addressed in the final investigation. So a complainant, when they make a complaint, can have any number of allegations that they are raising. And we want to ensure that every single allegation that they are making is being included and given a finding. So we are checking for this in every single case to make sure that investigations are being done thoroughly and consistently. We're also checking for administrative violations that may not be raised by the complainant. So things the complainant may not have knowledge of. They won't know if an officer completed every report properly or if the officer kept their body-worn camera on for the entire interaction. So we're checking for those as well, because with access to all the case file materials, we're able to really get the full picture. So out of the 20 cases, out of the 36 cases we reviewed, in only 44% of the cases, all of the allegations were addressed. So over 50%, we're seeing this as a problem. So again, we're always going to call that out and make a recommendation for this to be adjusted. Back in July, they had a slightly better or a slightly similar rate. So not a big change there. Next slide, please. A couple other data points that I can present here is that in 75% of the cases, the investigators asked about all allegations in interviews. So even though not all allegations may be addressed at the end of the investigation, they were typically asking about all the allegations in interviews. So there's a little bit of a disconnect there between what's happening during the investigation and what's getting onto the page of that final report of investigation. But we did note that sometimes officer interviews lack proper follow-up questions to clarify what occurred or what the officer's role in the allegation or the interaction was. So sometimes an investigator might ask an officer, were you rude to the complainant? And the officer says, no. And with no follow-up, it's not really clear what the allegation was or what an officer may have done. So that's something we are paying attention to and trying to collect information on so we can make some recommendations to the department about that. Next slide, please. With access to body-worn camera footage, we are paying attention to whether the investigator is accurately summarizing what is in that video footage, because what the investigator writes that occurred in the footage helps determine the outcome of the investigation. So we're double checking that to see if the investigator is really accurately capturing what is present in the video. So things like maybe tone of voice, or something that we as civilians may view maybe differently than a police investigator may. This gives us a different perspective and allows us to add additional feedback to our recommendations. So about half of the time we found that their summaries of video footage was accurate, but in about 14% of the time, there were some inaccuracies there. So we always will type out what we think they should be adding in and what things we thought were inaccurate so that we can let this be known. Next slide, please. So of these 36 cases that we did, about 80% of them, we had some feedback and some recommendations to make. And in only 19% or 7 of the cases, we said everything looks good and we had no feedback based only on the information that we reviewed. So in July, there was a slightly more favorable statistic for them. It was about 50-50 with if we needed to send a feedback memo or not. So we're just going to keep this up, keep collecting this information and keep reporting out on what it is that we're seeing. The memos we send go to internal affairs and to the deputy commissioner who oversees internal affairs, and ultimately end up with the investigator so that they can update the files. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, and our goals to sort of wrap this up, we want to keep reporting on this work to the public and to the police department, keep collecting data on our recommendations that we make to find out if our recommendations are being accepted and if they are impactful, and then use our data to generate any process recommendations to internal affairs based on any trends that we might see. So I've said this before, I'll keep repeating it. Developing this data collection and this process definitely takes time, but we want to make sure that we are doing this really in a smart way. So it's just a learning process as we go. But in the meantime, while we are learning, we can keep doing these file reviews and keep making recommendations for individual cases so that we are impacting them as time goes on. I think that's the last of my slides, but I can't remember. Yep, that's it for me.
So do we have any questions for the auditing and monitoring unit or comments? Now, commissioners, as you heard from Director Zajac, this is historic, has never happened before. There has to be at least a comment or two. Well, hearing none, I just want to give a shout out to the auditing and monitoring unit. It is historic. It's never happened before. And so I want to appreciate the director and her team for really this amazing work that's going on. So shout out to the auditing and monitoring unit. So if we can turn to investigations.
Thanks, Tanya. This is Nick Cotto. I'm the Director of Investigations. I'm going to report on officer-involved shootings in August 2024 and on the active monitoring cases that the investigation unit has been working on. So as you know, the investigation unit reviews every officer-involved shooting. We take these reviews extremely seriously because an officer's decision to fire their weapon is one of the most serious decisions an officer can make in their career, and the consequences of the shooting can be deadly and tragic. So we respond in real time to incidents in which police shoot people or at people. Once we are notified, we respond to the scene of the shooting, we analyze the shooting scene and speak with on-scene investigators about the incident. And in the hours that follow, we receive additional materials from PPD, such as body-worn camera footage, photographs, documentary evidence of the shooting. And the unit closely reviews that material to understand the events of the shooting and to report to the executive director about the shooting and our findings. So as the slide shows, similar to last month, knock wood, there were no police shootings in August 2024. Now, this is the second consecutive month, in which there have been no police shootings of people. So that's the reason why I'm not going to do a deep dive into any specific officer-involved shooting, is simply because there have been none in August. And just to be clear, this is also the reason why last month the unit presented on dog shootings rather than people shootings, because there were no police shootings of people in July 2024. So there were no specific cases to report. That being said, when there is an officer-involved shooting, we will update the website that's available to the public at the link in this slide that will contain a narrative of that shooting. If we could please go to the next slide. Thank you. So one of the other oversight functions that the investigation unit has been undertaking is to monitor ongoing IAD complaints and the IAD investigators process through specific complaints. And the monitoring activity is fairly time consuming, fairly resource intensive. It includes reviewing the complaint material So the documentary evidence that came into IAD to generate the complaint, we will discuss the investigation with IAD investigators as soon as we can. With the goal being to make contact with the IAD investigator shortly after that investigation is launched, so we can see soup to nuts the investigation unfold. If there's body-worn camera footage associated with the complaint, we will review it. We'll review other evidence, if that's photographs, that's statements, other documents. We'll take a look at that. And we'll also attend in person and participate in IAD-led interviews. And what that typically looks like are in-person interviews at IAD in Northeast Philadelphia. There's a bank of rooms in which IAD investigators will call officers, call witnesses, call complainants to come and sit in person to provide a statement to IAD. When they do that, for the cases that we monitor, we'll be up in the Northeast at IAD, watching that interview happen in person. And at the end of those interviews, we are provided the opportunity to ask questions. So if we think that there's perhaps a detail that the IAD investigator missed, or there was a subject that we wanted to clarify that's relevant to the investigation, the IAD investigator will turn the interview over to us, and will ask those questions to the witness or the complainant or the officer, which are then made part of the record for the IAD investigation. And we have not gotten quite this far yet with the complaints that we're monitoring, but we will be auditing essentially the complaints that the IAD investigator finishes and sends up the chain. So we'll be a part of the auditing process that Janine had described as well. Could we go to the next slide, please? So I wanted to give the commissioners sort of an overview of the types of complaints that we have been actively monitoring over the last month or two. And we'll keep picking up complaints as they come in, so we can continue the monitoring activities. But just to give you an overview of sort of an incomplete list of the types of things that we're monitoring. The first example is that a complainant alleged the police entered and searched his residence without permission or justification. And that police activity was allegedly captured on the complainant's surveillance camera. So with that complaint, we're certainly mindful of the Fourth Amendment and Pennsylvania constitutional equivalent, and whether the police followed those constitutional requirements and their own policies when they allegedly conducted the search. And mind you, as we go through these examples, these are ongoing investigations, so they've been trimmed of a number of details that we're aware of, but because of the sort of ongoing nature of the investigation, we wanted to provide you some information, but not sensitive information that could potentially jeopardize the integrity of the investigation. So I just wanted to mention that as we go through these examples. In the second example, the complainant alleged that officers did not appear at court proceedings for a car theft case, and further alleged that the failure to appear in court resulted in the case being dismissed. So in that one, we're certainly looking at PPD's policies and procedures for being notified to appear in court, and the district attorneys and ADA's notice to the officers to appear in court for that car theft case. In the third example, the complainant alleged that he was approached on the street by some patrol officers, asked if he possessed any weapons. The complainant further alleged that the officer gripped the complainant aggressively and searched him, and claimed that the officer grabbed his private area during the search. So again, we're looking at the Fourth Amendment and Pennsylvania constitutional analogs to see if this police interaction comported with those requirements and PPD's directives on warrantless stops and frisks. And finally, for these examples, the complainant alleged that police conducted a traffic stop of this vehicle and that the officers improperly searched the vehicle and used excessive force during the stop. So with this one, we have the Fourth Amendment issue, but also we are looking at the allegation that the police used force beyond constitutional requirements and beyond their use of force, moderate use of force policies. So that's just to give you an overview of the facts that we're looking at when we are doing these monitoring activities, and we'll look forward to taking more cases on, more monitoring on, so we can be part of that investigation as it winds its way through IAD. I think that might be the last slide, so I'll open it up to, I'll open this up to any questions that the commissioners may have.
So questions by the commissioners? The last piece of the report is outreach and training.
All right, good Tuesday evening, everyone. My name is Talia Grimmage, and I am the Director of Outreach and Constituent Services for CPOC. I have the esteemed pleasure of leading a team of superstars that you see here on your screen. And listen, I say it every single month, and I'm going to continue to say it because I believe in giving people their flowers while they can smell them. Much of the success of the outreach unit in this agency goes to Julian, Damon, Jeriana, and Jody and all their hard work every month that they do to put together programming and to engage with the community. Next slide, please. So just to talk a little bit about some of the things that we participated in for the month of August. August is always a really, really packed month for us. Every year, this is our 5th year, we get a Mandela Washington Fellow. So the Mandela Washington Fellowship is a program that pairs young African leaders with actually different colleges and universities in the US. They take some leadership courses, and then a portion of the students that are accepted into that program go on to participate in the PDE, which is the Professional Development Experience. CPOC is a PDE host, and so each year we have a fellow that is assigned to us, and we are responsible for their entire month of programming. And so we always get a fellow that has a law enforcement or oversight interest or focus, and this year our fellow was Sherelle Lau-T. She is a police officer and a forensic psychologist from the Seychelles Islands in Africa. If you have not been there or seen it, I encourage everybody to Google the Seychelles. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful group of islands. I think it's over 100 islands. And so Sherelle was with us, and we had an opportunity to, introduce her to some people here in the city, so that she could learn more about how policing functions in Philadelphia and how some other, government agencies operate in the city, so that she could take some of this information back to the Seychelles to implement some things that she learned. And so this month, she was able to be introduced to Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel. We took her to the medical examiner's office so that she could get a good overview of how autopsies and things are conducted when there are homicides. She, of course, went to the SVU unit at PSARC, the Philadelphia Sexual Assault Resource Center, and met with Ward to learn about how sexual assault is investigated. She met with the homicide unit, mental health court. She had an opportunity to go to PPD, the Academy, to do some reality-based training. She went to the crime scene and forensic science unit to learn about how crime scene investigations and things are conducted. She also had an opportunity to meet with the chief of police for the Norristown Police Department. And so that's just kind of a snippet of some of the things that Sherelle was involved in. But it is a program that we are really excited about. We love doing it every summer, and it really gives CPOC an opportunity to get some international engagement. Civilian oversight of law enforcement is not necessarily something that is prevalent, in some other countries. And so to have people come here and learn about what we're doing is really important to us. Next slide, please. Okay, as you may remember, we always have a standing lecture that we give to each police recruit class before they graduate. We had an opportunity to give our most recent lecture to police recruit class 403. And so usually we do an Oversight 101 discussion with them. We talk about why they chose careers in law enforcement. We talk a little bit about the history of CPOC in the city, our role that we play in the disciplinary process, and just also ways that we work with PPD collaboratively, and other ways when we are, the ways that the recruits may encounter us when they're out in the community. And we always end by watching part of a documentary called Navajo Class 57, and it talks about some of the recruit experiences with the police department in the Navajo Nation. And so it just gives us a chance to talk to them about just some similarities and commonalities between Philadelphia recruits and recruits elsewhere in the country. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you missed our Right to Drive Community Town Hall, you missed something phenomenal, but we taped it, so it is available to stream if you go to our YouTube page or Facebook. This was a really, really great event. This was a discussion on policing and traffic stops. We were joined by Philando Castile's mother, Valerie Castile, who is the founder of the Philando Castile Relief Foundation, and Jacqueline Carter, who invented the Not Reaching pouch. You can see it there on the screen. And we had our city council representative, Isaiah Thomas, joined us. He wrote the driving equality bill. So we had him there to just talk about this issue. And of course, Teresa Lundy from TML Communications moderated the discussion. We had some representation from the Office of Black Male Engagement, Office of LGBT Affairs, and the Office of Latino Engagement to really just talk about traffic stops, communities of color, and just how we make some of these encounters safer for the community. So if you didn't get a chance to join us, please check out the streaming video. And if you would like to get a Not Reaching pouch, you can reach out to us at the office. We have some that we would love to distribute to the community if you weren't able to get one. Next slide. Okay, we attended State Rep Burgos's 197th District Community Day. We're always excited and happy to get out in the community and do some tabling and provide some resources if we're asked. So if you have something that's coming up in September that you want us to come to, please reach out to us and let us know. We would be happy to be there. The outreach team, we gave a complaint intake training to the Central Division's Victim Services. We do this often when there are agencies that may have clients or constituents that may have some police contact. If they may ever want to file a complaint, we just give them some information about what that complaint process looks like so that as they're explaining it to their clients, they just have a good understanding. And the outreach team organized a staff-wide training for everybody at CPOC from the PA Office of Victim Services on the Victims Compensation Assistance Program, VCAP. That program helps victims and their families through the emotional and physical aftermath of a crime by easing the financial impact placed upon them by the crime. And so PPD has, a certain role that they're supposed to play. They're supposed to provide some information to crime victims. And so we just wanted to make sure the staff was educated on that so that when we encounter people, we can tell them about this program. Or if someone may feel that they should have been offered a resource that they weren't, we just have a better understanding of it. Next slide. Okay, so if you would like to know when you can catch up with the outreach team, we are always booked and busy. We just have a couple of dates here. As our executive director mentioned, it's 7:54 right now. You have until 12:01. If you want to apply to be one of our commissioners, you still have some time. On the 7th, we will be at the Socks for the Streets Resource Fair. September 8th, we'll be at the Feria del Barrio celebration. On the 13th, Councilmember O'Rourke is having a resource fair specifically for community members that have been justice impacted. So that's a really, really important one. There's a flyer here on the bottom if you're interested. We'll be at that event. And then, of course, September 17th, is our September monthly community town hall. That one is in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month. It's going to be at the Core Center at Esperanza in Kensington. This is another one. You don't want to miss it. We're going to have some great food, some great discussion, some community performances. This is one that I would make sure I add to my calendar, because you're going to be sorry if you missed it, because you're going to hear about it. And of course, on the 18th, the police department starts their Civilian Police Academy class. This is a class that runs for 9 evenings and educates the community on PPD's policies. Many of our commissioners have done the Civilian Police Academy and some staff. So if it's something that interests you, they are accepting applications. You can reach out to us if you want more information. And that is all I have. Thank you for the space.
So turn it over to the commissioners. Any questions or comments for the outreach and training unit?
No questions? Well, I have one. Many of you, all of you were at the Right to Drive event. You want to share just some of your feedback about what you took away from it? I know you all got to meet Miss Valerie, Miss Jackie. I'm just curious to get some feedback from all of you.
She's talking to you all.
Commissioner
Yeah,
Bennett, you're already unmuted. You don't have to raise your hand. Go ahead.
Hear me?
I'm so
How
sorry.
do you know I'm
Commissioner
raising my
DeVos
hand?
just asked
Oh.
to speak as well.
Oh.
We got everyone at once. Go ahead, Commissioner DeVos.
Yes, good evening again, and thank you to the directors for the reports and for your information. Just to respond to your request about the town hall that happened at Dennis, I found it to be very informative and just rich in information. My only problem is that there was no real community engagement. As a member of the community and as a commissioner, I had questions. And naturally, for no fault of anyone else's, but everyone here, the menu was uncomfortable and the evening was long. So I didn't want to interrupt the agenda by asking questions, but overall, I'm concerned about the lack of engagement with commissioners at town hall meetings. I think that I'm assuming, or just someone to stand up and wave when my name is called. There's an opportunity and desire for real engagement. The second thing that I want to mention, I listened with envy to the report of the engagement with the fellow or the intern that you had. The kind of things to which the intern was exposed are the kind of requests that incoming commissioners made 2 years ago to help get an understanding of the whole of the work of what is now called CPOC. So I don't know if it is an imposition for us. Like, let me give you an example of that. Commissioner Bennett and I have been working on this as well as Director Grimmage and Mr. Green. We have been working on and discussing the Junior CPOC Academy. And all 4 of us have perspectives as to how that could be run. But you, Commissioner, Director Grimmage, you just exposed a wealth of information and networks, partnerships, about which I, as a commissioner, know little or nothing. Those things can have some presence in our curriculum, but from the beginning, I feel that we were not invited to that level of depth or information as to the working of focus impact what is now the Citizens Police Oversight Commission. So I listen with envy, and I hope that as time goes on, as commissioners existing and the ones coming on, will be invited to more the inner workings of this commission, so that when we have questions coming up in our community, the research process is not so arduous. We have the opportunity to say, we have access, so we network with this group or that group. And I will concede the fact that as a visually impaired person, I can't do research like some of my fellow commissioners, but the opportunity to have been invited to some of those kind of exposures or opportunities would have been fully taken advantage of. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner DeBose.
On to that,
feedback.
let me respond to that, Commissioner DeBose. So actually, you have not been forgotten. Director Grimmage and I are actually working on an entire training program. When I came in, that was one of the things that I asked her to do, was to develop a training program for commissioners. Once we have a draft of that, we will be circulating it to you all to see which one of these trainings makes sense to you. So I just want you to know that you are not an afterthought. We are actually developing an entire training plan. We're hoping to roll it out when the new commissioners are seated, and you all will have feedback into that. We've been in contact with the academy to find out which programs are open to commissioners, also based on the experience that her team has in terms of the things that I told you that the Mandela Washington Fellow was exposed to. She also has those. So I don't want you all to think that you all are the thought. We understand that the commission needs training. We're going to be setting up ride-alongs for you all and a lot of things. So I really appreciate that feedback and just want you to know, sometimes I don't say things out loud because they're in the works, and maybe I should do more of that in terms of letting you all know what some of our thinking is. But we definitely hear you and understand that. And we can also talk further about the town halls. Commissioner Grimmage, from my experience since I have been here, is always open to feedback, which is why she just opened it up, right? And said, give me feedback. So if there's ways that you all want to be engaged, I know that she's open to it. And so, Director Grimmage, I don't know if you have anything in response. I did want them to know that you and I are working on some things for them. But I know you sound like you want to respond as well.
Yes. No, thank you for just letting them know about some of the training that we are planning. I did want to address just the first part first, which was about our town halls. So one of the things that we definitely try to do is change up the format every so often for some of our town hall discussions. Almost always we have a Q&A portion where maybe at the end attendees can ask a question or submit some questions in advance. There are times when if there's a panel discussion and we run out of time, we may not have time to do a Q&A. But this town hall, the Right to Drive, we had an entire hour meet and greet before the panel started, where we had some really great hors d'oeuvres and food that was there. And so the goal was to have everybody kind of talk a little bit, network and mingle and get to know each other before the town hall started at 7. And then afterwards, we didn't have to leave right away. There were some people that lingered and talked to Ms. Jackie and to Ms. Valerie afterwards. So I just wanted to say, I don't know if everybody was aware, but The town hall actually started an hour before the panel got started, and people were there talking, getting to know each other, asking questions and some things like that. So we usually have Q&A, but if we run out of time, we may not get to it. But for the most part, there usually is some opportunity for people to, engage with and talk to our panelists or about the topic for the evening. And I just echo what, Executive Director McCleary said about trainings. We're not gatekeeping or, withholding any opportunities. So definitely if there's something that the commissioners have a particular interest in, we will make sure that we can make those connections. This particular fellow, this is like the third one that we've had since the commission CPOC was created. First we had Sophie, the police officer from Madagascar. Last year we had Gundam Bariko from Namibia. He was a psychologist. And so I know some of you had an opportunity to meet some of them at different events. So we definitely try to make sure that the same opportunities that the fellows get, we provide for other people as well. But sometimes it comes down to scheduling, people's interests, and when people are available. So I will make sure that we endeavor next summer to make sure that all the dates are available. So if anyone wants to come or join us, they're more than welcome to. Staff usually does. But we are working on some specific commissioner training so that you can have some of these same exact experiences yourself.
I have a comment or a question rather. And I have a comment followed by a question. And hearing and listening to the panel, I heard a lot of pain and hurt, rightfully so, from Mother Castile, right? And hearing her pain after the panel, I had discussions with the community at the town hall. I had discussions with many of the community members before the town hall. So much that at one point in time, Ms. Grimmage had to drag me away into the actual town hall. So I also had discussions with family members of those that were impacted by police misconduct at the criminal justice system. And my question is there a possibility in the future of CPOC that we open a space for those affected by police misconduct? And I'm not just saying town halls, right? I'm speaking of like just a safe space, a meeting just for us to address the resources available to those that were affected by, and I don't want to say police misconduct, right? Because it's a lot of times where someone's affected by an action, shooting or whatever, and have nowhere to go to express themselves about that shooting. They do not know the resources available, or if there are any resources available to them. Is it out of our mission to provide them with a safe space, whether that be a group or anything, so we can try to provide them with resources or ways to address the trauma that they're currently dealing with?
I don't think that's outside of our mission at all. I think those are absolutely the kinds of things, we should be working with people to create. I think that's like one of the great things about having our commissioners here and the staff with the background that we have. We can be as creative as we want to be. Do you have something specific in mind? Like, are you envisioning a specific event or discussion, or, you said sort of safe space. So how would you see, that initiative kind of taking shape? Like what do you have in mind?
I was envisioning like a group,
Okay.
possibly a once in a month group for people to come in and just speak and obtain resources, available resources for them. But this isn't a conversation that this is just a spark, right?
Right.
I think that's the point of the town halls, is the inform the community, listen to the community, and come up with resolution for the community. So I don't think it's something that we'll come to tonight, or it's not just, okay, we'll form it tonight, but it's something that we can come together and discuss just the how this space looks.
Okay. I think that's definitely something we can do. We don't necessarily have to recreate the wheel. I'm sure there are a lot of victims advocacy groups or community organizations or trauma-informed specialists that are doing this kind of work. And if we just create the space in the moment, maybe this is an opportunity for us to kind of tap some people that are already doing this kind of work to come together. And we just, organize it and bring people together, in one room to get it done. But I will say what it sounds like is this might not be an event that we may want to open up to everyone. And I'm thinking maybe our law enforcement partners, maybe initially, just because, you want to make sure people are comfortable sharing what their lived experiences. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Well,
maybe you have more than one, you have one with just law enforcement and one with the community. But I definitely think we can, talk further about what that looks like.
yeah, we could definitely talk further. When we exclude the department, but we often get negative feedback for excluding the department, despite the reason for doing so. So let's see how this looks moving forward. Bringing those people together and maybe helping them, the organizations that have these spaces, quote unquote spaces, pitching them the idea and sending somebody to them once a month. Well, we'll figure out how this looks. But I just thank you. I thank you for giving these people a platform to speak and be educated about something that's important to our community, something important to the citizens of our city.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, like I said, it's not just me, it's the whole team that comes together to come up with things every month, so we're happy to do it and we're looking forward to September and October. So stay tuned.
My next comment is for Jody.
I want to find out if Commissioner PA had anything. I know he also attended. I just wanted to give him an opportunity if he wanted to chime in and say anything. Chairman, we're going to turn it back over to you unless Commissioner Solomon wanted to speak at all. I know he wasn't able to attend, but he might have watched it on YouTube. So I never want to cut off a commissioner.
I appreciate that. I have no comments.
Chairman, back to you.
My next comment is for Jody. I wanted to acknowledge Jody. I've seen the impact that she's had on our agency. I just want to say thank you, Jody.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
It's back to me. Next is the community colloquy. Community comments. I will read the community colloquy to you before I open the floor up for community comments. We welcome the public comment and feedback. Please address your comments to myself, the chair. If you would like to speak, please provide your full name. We will not be unmuting anonymous participants. If you are a member of the media, please identify yourself as such. You can indicate that you would like to speak by raising your hand and sending a request to the meeting host in the chat. You may also submit public comment through the chat. You will have 3 minutes to address the commissioners. I will keep the time and notify the board when 3 minutes have elapsed. Any documents or follow-up communications can be submitted to cpoc@phila.gov. That is CPOC @PHILA.gov. Public comments should be limited to the topics covered in the meeting. All public comments must refrain from offensive language, threats, or harassment. Participants that violate these instructions will be removed from the meeting. While we welcome your public comment and feedback, commissioners may not be able to respond to your question or comments during tonight's meeting. Every attempt will be made to follow up by phone or email after the meeting. Once again, you can contact CPOC@phila.gov or call us at 215-685-0891. That is 215-685-0891. And with that, I open the floor for public comments.
Currently do not see any hands raised nor questions in the Q&A at this moment.
We'll give it about a minute, I guess. While we're waiting for public comments, how many, I have a question to the host. I mean, how many attendees do we have in the meeting?
Right now under attendees, there's 8.
Okay, thank you. Has the minute elapsed? Okay, with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Commissioner DeBose moved to adjourn.
A second.
Commissioner Hakeem PA seconds this motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
With that, at 8:18 p.m., the Citizens Police Oversight Commission Commissioners Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.